Hey guys, welcome back to TOI Auto, and we are right now here in Goa. It's raining and we are driving the new Tata Curvv ICE. When the Curvv ICE was showcased earlier this year at the Bharat Mobility Expo, it attracted a lot of attention, especially because of its design. Earlier this month, we also drove the EV model. So how different is the new Curvv ICE different from the electric model? And also, in general, people are more interested towards the ICE model compared to the electric variant. So we are right now driving the new Curvv in its petrol and diesel avatar. So what is the price, what are the engine options, what are the gearbox options, and how does it stand out in its segment? Watch the complete video to find it all out. You are watching TOI Auto and this is Harshit. So first let's talk about the design of the Curvv ICE model. The car looks very similar to the EV model which we had driven a month earlier, but Tata Motors has made quite a few changes to make it stand out. For example, the grille design is different from the electric model. This gets different design for the grille. Also the lower grille too is pretty different. The main changes also is this does not get a charging floor because this runs on pure petrol and diesel, of course. The front end again, it features the familiar Tata look, similar to the Punch EV, Nexon EV and the Curvv EV. This gets a thin LED strip that runs across the width of the car. So these are the sequential indicators which works pretty well and also looks pretty nice. And also the main headlamp cluster itself is positioned below the outer bumper, and overall the car looks very sharp and very smart. Moving on to the sides, this is how the new Curvv ICE looks from the side. Again, it looks very similar to the EV model, except there are few changes. The first change right here is this. In EV model you get the Curvv.ev, but here you just have the Curvv lettering. And also one more change is the alloy wheels. In the Curvv EV you get aerodynamic design 18-inch wheels, but here you have pretty nicely designed alloy wheels which looks pretty nice. These are diamond cut and these are wrapped up in 215 55 R18 Goodyear rubber. And also moving on to the sides, one of the main talking points about the car is its sloping roofline. So before moving on to that, we'll talk about the flush fitted door handles. Unlike other cars, when you unlock the car, these flush door handles does not show up themselves. You have to manually open this like this. So for example, you've seen this in the XUV 700. As soon as you unlock the car, these come out automatically, and if you talk about the top end models, these come out electronically, but here you have to manually operate them. And the biggest talking point about the new Curvv ICE is its coupe, the sloping roofline. From the side, the car looks very smart, very sharp, again stands out in its segment just because of this sloping roofline. The sloping roofline again is neatly integrates into the boot lid, and the design is pretty clean, looks smart and does not look like it's overdone. And by this I can also say that the Curvv is also one of the best looking car in its segment. And moving down below, Tata has used piano black finish for the wheel arches and also below the doors. This looks good, but again it's gonna be very hard for you guys to keep it scratch free and also clean. Moving on to the back end, talking about its rear design, in my opinion the Curvv looks very smart from the back angle. Well, just like the front, you get a full width LED strip which accentuates the width of the car again, and here you have the stop lamp, and you have the Curvv badging in the center right here, and you also get a foxed silver skid plate, and above that you get a piano black finished on the lower bumper. And this again might look good and also will add a lot to the visual appeal of the car, but it's very hard to keep the car clean and also scratch free. Other highlights of the rear include an integrated spoiler, shark fin antenna, and just like other coupe SUVs, this misses out on a rear wiper and washer. And also because of its raked roofline, the visibility from the inside isn't that great. So now let's talk about the boot space of the Curvv. Well, before talking about that, there's 4 ways how you can open the boot of the Curvv. One is through a switch inside, other one is through the remote. All you have to do is press and hold this. Other way is through a small button right here, and the 4th way is through this. It gets electronically operated tailgate, and when the boot opens up, this gets massive 500 liters of boot space. This can swallow up a lot of your luggage. Right now we have 2 suitcases right here. Even though with 2 suitcases right here we have tons of storage space on the inside, you also get 2 secret storage space right here. This can easily fit up in a water bottle and you get that on both ends. Well, like I mentioned before, the boot space is massive. At the back you also have a JBL subwoofer at the top end variants, and below this boot lid you also have spare wheel. So this is 215, 65, 16 inch. You do not get a puncture set. Here you have a full size spare wheel. Before moving inside and talking about its features and the interior, let's talk about its engine options. The Curvv is offered with 3 engine options: a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine which puts out 120 HP of power and 170 Nm of torque. There's also a 1.5 liter turbo diesel which puts out 118 HP of power. These 2 engines are carried over from the Nexon. Tata also has debuted a new engine. It's called Hyperion, and this engine has made its debut with the Curvv. It's a 1.2 liter direct injection turbo petrol engine which puts out 125 HP of power and 225 Nm of torque. You can see the Hyperion letter right here. All 3 engines come paired with a 6-speed manual gearbox, and also there's an option of 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. This also makes the Curvv the only mass market car in India to have a diesel engine with a dual clutch automatic gearbox. Talking about the refinement levels of the new engine, just like all the 3-cylinder turbo petrol engines, the refinement levels isn't that great. There is a lot of vibration, and also there is a lot of clatter sound as well. On paper this has 125 HP of power and 225 Nm of torque. It's a pretty healthy number. Now let's go inside, talk about its interior and features, and we'll finally drive the car and see how the new Hyperion engine performs. Before getting inside, I also wanted to show you the new key fob which has been debuted with the Curvv. The new key fob is finished in gloss black and brushed aluminum, which looks and feels significantly more upmarket than the previous models. Now let's talk about the interior of the new Curvv. The cabin of the Curvv is directly carried over from the Nexon and Nexon EV. The center console and the touchscreen infotainment is directly carried over from the Nexon, whereas the new steering wheel is carried over from the Harrier and Safari. But this gets a burgundian black theme for the interior. Overall, the theme and the quality of the materials feels pretty nice and also feels pretty upmarket. A bit of downer in the interior is the Curvv lacks proper cup holders in the interior. Even the door pad cannot accommodate 1 liter of water bottle, and even in the center there are no any cup holders. The steering wheel is pretty attractive but feels a bit bulky to hold. Talking about the touchscreen infotainment system, it's a 12.3 inch unit which is carried over again from the Nexon EV, Nexon and the Curvv. The touch response and the resolution is brilliant. It offers good response, and it also comes paired with 9 speaker JBL sound system which sounds fantastic. It also gets different moods for your sound. It also has ambient lighting, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, IRA connected car tech. Other features include a panoramic sunroof, fully digital cluster and automatic climate control, and the list goes on. The front seats are particularly comfortable. Like all Tata Curvvs, it has soft padding and offers excellent support. Additionally, the driver's seats also gets electrical adjustment, while the front passenger seat also offers height adjustment, and both seats also features ventilation. Well, now let's move to the back and see how the space is. The Curvv gets longer wheelbase compared to the Nexon, which means you have more legroom at the back, but there is slightly less headroom at the back. If you are over 6 feet, it's going to be a bit of problem. The scooped out headliner and the reclining backrest help, but the headroom is still tight for taller passengers, like I mentioned before. Overall, the space at the front, the under thigh support is pretty much spot on. Features at the back, it gets AC vents and also a USB Type-C charging port and a center armrest with cup holders. So now let's drive the new Curvv with its new engine and see how it performs. First, we drove the Curvv with the new Hyperion 1.2 liter turbo petrol engine with 125 HP of power and 225 Nm of torque, and this engine comes paired with a 6-speed manual gearbox. Like all turbo petrol 3-cylinder units, this engine isn't vibration free. The engine flutters on its mounts during idle, but once you start moving, the vibration substantially comes down. It has crisp throttle response, and coupled with nicely judged gear ratios, you can mitigate turbo lags below 2000 rpm. Once the turbo kicks in, the performance is very brisk, and catching upon triple digit speeds isn't that effortless. When you go hard on the engine, it gets fairly vocal inside. The turbo lag is noticeable, especially if you are caught up in the wrong gear and the rev is below 2000 rpm. The 6-speed manual gearbox is crisp and well defined, but the shifts aren't that smooth as some Japanese or Korean rivals. The clutch is too light for everyday operations, but driving in traffic can cause some of muscle fatigue. We also drove the diesel engine paired with a 7-speed DCA, essentially dual clutch automatic gearbox. This engine is carried over from the Nexon and puts out healthy 118 HP of power and 260 Nm of torque. The engine is relatively smooth, but again not as smooth as its Korean rivals. As you rev, the note gets gravelly. There is some amount of lag below 1500 rpm, but post 2000 rpm the engine pulls with more grunt and the torque can be felt. The healthy 260 Nm of torque makes it feels relatively effortless. When you push the engine hard, there is a lot of noise that comes into the cabin, and the NVH in the diesel could have been better. There's not much of performance post 4300 rpm since it's a diesel. Talking about the DCA, dual clutch automatic gearbox, it's paired well with a diesel engine, but it isn't lightning quick as a VW Skoda DSG. The upshifts are quite quick, but the downshifts feels very sluggish and doesn't feel much responsive. The engine and the gearbox are smooth and easy going at low engine speeds, but strong performance isn't that great. So now let's talk about the handling and comfort. At low speeds, the ride is very well compliant and absorbed, and the suspension tuning from Tata is on point. Even with 18-inch wheels, you don't really feel the road as much. As the speed increases, the Curvv's ride improves. The coupe SUV manages to handle broken roads well. The ride is good on highways, and the SUV feels well planted at highway speeds, and the movement is very well controlled. The SUV holds onto its line very well and doesn't understeer very easily. I pushed the Curvv around the curve very hard, and the SUV holds its line very well and doesn't understeer very easily. There is some body roll and you do feel the car's height in fast corners, but the straight line stability and the dynamics is very good. Well, now to the main part of the video, the verdict. If you are looking for a car which is feature loaded and has very distinctive design, you can strongly consider the new Tata Curvv. With starting price of Rs 10 lakh, the coupe SUV is affordable, and Tata Motors has done a very good job with pricing it well. There's no doubt that Tata Motors has another winner on their hands. However, the Curvv doesn't feel mechanically robust as its rivals, and also the fit and finish needs to be improved too. Also, this is the only car in the segment which is available in all three avatars: petrol, diesel and electric. And Tata Motors says they are also working on a CNG Model 2 which will be launched soon. If your running is too much in the city and you don't mind charging the car overnight, you can easily go for the EV, and the running cost will be very less too. And if you are someone who wants most fast performance, and if you do too many highway trips, you can go with the petrol or diesel, but I think the diesel is evergreen. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe. If you have any questions, please do pin it down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them all. Thank you for watching, and you're watching Times of India Auto, and this is Harshad.